Hey guys, so maybe you watched my video on building a home studio. Of course you did, but if you were under a rock somewhere or something and you didn't, cards up in the top, get your life together. Watch my videos when they come out. But anyway, maybe you watch that and or maybe someone who loves you and cares about you watch that. And so maybe you or someone else has invested in and gotten you a bunch of studio equipment. You have started building your home studio. Yay, right? And you've hooked everything up and you've got everything going and you go on your computer and you click the icon for your DAW and you look at it and you realize I don't know what the heck I'm doing. What is this new world and what do I do? And you're freaking out. Don't worry. I am going to walk you through some basic things that you can do and that you should do to get you started in your DAW. And we're just going to make a whole series of it. And we're going to start with this video right here, obviously, because you're watching it right now. So it's clearly the first video. So cue the intro, and then we'll get into our first topic. Intro, please. Alexa, open the studio.
McCray Music.
All right. The first thing that we're going to cover in this series is just a basic walkthrough of the DAW environment. Now, before we cut over to our screen and take a look at what we're going to start looking at, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel at this time. You can go ahead and click the little thumbs up. Go ahead and click on that right now. You know you want to. And make sure you turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any of the upcoming videos in this series or all the other wonderful things that are going to be on this channel. Okay, so disclaimer. I am going to be working in a specific DAW called Luna. And the reason I'm going to be working in that DAW is because that's the DAW that I am currently using for my mixing and mastering and editing needs. Card up in the top if you are interested in knowing why I decided to make the switch from Pro Tools to Luna. I will here and there maybe show you certain things in Pro Tools, possibly Logic, probably not much Logic in this series, but we'll at some point do whole series where we do deep dives into each of those DAWs, probably the Luna specific, Pro Tools specific, and Logic, as those are the DAWs that I have experience with. All right, so that being said, let's head on over and let's start taking a look at some of the basic things that'll help you get started in your DAW. All right, so here I am. I'm inside of my DAW. I'm inside of Luna. By the way, not to assume, right, that we all remember this. DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation. Say it with me, class. Digital Audio Workstation. Good job. You guys sound so wonderful. This is where, of course, we're going to be doing all of our recording, all of our creating, all of our editing, all of our mixing, mastering, and then ultimately all of our exporting of things out into the world so that they can hear our glorious creations, all right? When you first open up your DAW, you are most likely going to get a splash or a start screen, and you're going to see different things here that are going to help us get started. You want to take your time and kind of go through some of the different options that are there for you in your DAW because the developers probably put things there to help you get started. They're usually considered new users, brand new users, and so there'll be windows and things you can probably choose to hide, but it'll walk you through some of the basic things that you need to do as getting started in your DAW. So over here in Luna, I see that I have some basic video tutorials I can watch. I have some live stream links here. I have some documentation, right? My user manual is there. I have a knowledge base. And then, of course, I have some settings and things over here that we'll talk about, okay? But take your time and peruse those different things that are there on the splash or start screen in your DAW. Okay, now, in order to start creating things, we need to start a new session. Now, if you are in a DAW that maybe someone, maybe it doesn't have a start screen or maybe somebody disabled it, you would go to like File and then choose New, and that would take you into your new session screen, okay? So here in Luna, it presents me with these options right away. Every DAW is going to give you these options, and there might be certain others that are there. A couple others that I'll talk about that are not listed here that I'll discuss here. So the first thing I can do is give my session a name. Let's just call this we'll call this DAW environment, right? Now, I'm going to jump down here to this next thing, which is choosing where I'm going to save my session. And I see this issue not just in this world, but also just with everybody who uses computers. Y'all don't know where y'all save stuff. How come y'all don't know where y'all save stuff? It's like people just hit save. I was like, well, where'd you save it? Oh, it's on the computer. Well, you got to tell it where you're going to save it. All right. So, make sure you do that. So location here, I'm going to go ahead. It's actually already where I want it to go. It's on my desktop, but just for the sake of the video, let's go ahead and go here and choose desktop. Boom, open. All right. So that's where I want to save my DAW. Okay. And it's really going to help you, not where I want to save my DAW, where I want to save this session. And just organization in general is going to be a real theme on this channel, as we start getting into creating sessions and things like that. But also just in terms of storage, being able to find your sessions, right? Organization is very important. Okay, so make sure you remember where you save stuff. Now, when I'm starting a new session, I probably will have the option to start it based on a template. And here, if I click on template, I can see that I have some templates I've already created. There may be in your DAW some pre-made templates that are there for mixing or mastering or music production or, what have you. Pro Tools has some templates already built in. Logic, I believe, already has some templates built in. So you can play around with some of those templates. Templates are great to reverse engineer and see some of the different things that are there and maybe use them. Here I see some other things I can set up if I wanted to. Tempo, don't really need to change that here. I can set up my time signature here. And that's pretty much all that I have. Now, one of the things that you will probably see on your or in your DAW that you have to set up for a new session that I don't have here is the sample rate for your session. And we'll do another video at another time where we get into the difference between sample rates and, things like that. For the most part, unless you are mixing or doing something for like a DVD, which I don't know that you'd really be doing that anymore, just a specific type of project, you most likely are going to be going between either 44.1 or 48 as your sample rate. Now here, I don't have that because that's being controlled by the hardware and it's integrated into Luna. So I would actually be able to change that once I get into the session. Let me show you real quick a splash screen from Pro Tools where you can see it letting you choose that sample rate. Okay, so here is the new session screen for Pro Tools. I know you still see Luna in the background, but you can see that one of the things that has me choose here is the sample rate. And you have all these sample rates. Like I said, you most likely, unless you had a specific need, are going to stick with 44.1 or 48. Another thing that may be there in your DAW for you to change is the bit depth. We'll talk about that in a future video as well. You're most likely going to stick with 24. I have it on 32-bit float here. But those are other things that may show up in your DAW as well in your splash screen that you can set up right away. All right, here we are back in Luna. Let's go ahead and click create. Let's get into our new session. All right, so I'm here in a new session in my DAW. Let's go over some common things that you will see in the environment of any DAW that you're working with. The first thing that you need to know is that every DAW is going to have at least two windows, probably more, but at least two main windows that you need to be able to switch between. And that is your main window, which is this window here. Some DAWs will call it the edit window. Some DAWs will call it the main window. But here, this window is where we would start to see all of our different tracks and be able to actually see the waveforms and edit them. Okay, so this view is for like editing and all that kind of thing. And then we have our mixer view, which is over here. And this view is more for mixing. So here's where I'll see faders. Here's where I can insert plugins and I'll see a variety of things here. I'll open up a session that has stuff in it at the end of this video here so you can see that. But I see those things there. Most DAWs will also allow you, and you can see that Luna does this as well, allow you to control certain mix components and plugin components from the main window as well. But the mix view is just all about mixing, okay? You want to be able to switch back and forth between those two views. As you can see in Luna, I have a view option here where I can switch between those two. In both Luna and Pro Tools, the keyboard shortcut that you would use to switch between those views is Command =, right? So I'm going to hold the Command key, hit the equal sign, or if you have a PC keyboard, you're going to hold the Windows key, hit the equal sign, and I can easily switch back and forth between these two views. Okay, so learn those views, and other DAWs might have different ways where you can have like a split view where you can see both at the same time. Familiarize yourself with the different ways you can look at your edit window and your mix window inside of your DAW. Okay, the next element that every DAW is going to have is the transport section. And this is going to be where we're able to do basic things like start and stop our track or our session, record, and control different settings for recording and looping and other things. The transport area is most likely going to be right at the very top of your DAW, as you see here. And I see those basic things here, right? I see my BPM here. You're going to find most likely some metronome settings there. You'll find a counter there to let you know where you are in terms of bars and beats and such. Here are your transport controls, play, stop, and so forth. And then there may be a variety of other controls and things that are up here. Luna has some other things up here that I can mess around with. We'll get into some of that stuff when we do our deep dive specifically into Luna. Okay, but your transport area is pretty much going to be at the very top middle for any DAW you're working with. Then underneath that, you're going to have your ruler section. And there are a variety of rulers that you can display here that are going to show you different things. You're going to have your bar and beat ruler. You're probably going to have a real world time ruler or just a time ruler, minutes and seconds. So I know where I'm at in my song or in my session. Tempo, time signature, markers, and a variety of other things. In any DAW, the ruler area is going to be customizable. I see I can come right over here in Luna and I can turn certain things off. Like I can say, hey, in this session, I'm not going to be automating the tempo. Don't need to see that. Not going to be automating the time signature. Don't need to see that, right? So you're going to want to kind of familiarize yourself with the different rulers and figure out how to customize the area. Turn off the rulers that you're not using because that'll give you more real estate so you can see more of the stuff that you actually do want to actually see. But the ruler area is going to be very important. I can use this typically to select and jump right to a particular section of my session. I can typically use this to highlight and create a loop, right? Basic functionality that you'll have in pretty much any DAW you're working with. There are also somewhere in the top in the transport and ruler section, you're probably going to have a variety of tools and things like that that you can use. Luna does not have that because Luna uses a multi tool that's actually very, very intuitive and very useful. But some DAWs will have just physical tools you can actually click on. Let me show you an example of that in Pro Tools real quick. Okay, back over in Pro Tools, here's an example of tools, right? So if you look at here, you'll see different tools that you can use, right? Just to be generous, let me show you something similar in Logic. All right, so here I am in Logic. You'll see a similar thing here. I've got some tools sitting up top here. You see I've got some tools kind of floating around in the middle here, right? So that's all to say, look for the tools area if your DAW has one. You'll find it somewhere across the top around the rulers and the transport area. All right, so I opened up a session that actually has stuff in it so you can see kind of what everything will look like once we actually have tracks created. We're going to learn how to create tracks and the different types of tracks you can create in the next video in this series. But here you see I have several different tracks. In this main edit view, you can see everything is horizontal. Like I said, we can see our tracks individually. We can see the waveforms inside of each. If there's audio, if I had MIDI or other stuff, I'd see that information out here. And I can do a lot of different edits and whatever I need to do, I can do that out here, right? We'll learn about different editing tools and techniques and things as we progress. The other great thing that you'll see here now that I actually have stuff in my session is over on the left, I have a list here of all my tracks. Most DAWs will have something similar to this, where I can see all the tracks. I can use this area to reorder, right? Let's say I wanted to look at these color vocals right here. I want to grab these color tracks and select them and move them somewhere else, right? I can do that over here if I wanted to. Okay. And now those tracks are now moved out here. So this becomes a easier area. Let me undo that. This becomes an easier place where I can kind of navigate, move tracks around and organize things without having to scroll, and all that kind of stuff out here. And I can change view settings, right, and zoom way in on stuff, but I still might have to scroll, and sometimes it's easier to make adjustments over here. Okay. If I jump over to my mix window, we can see how it's different, right? Everything here is vertical. And over here, I'm going to see more things that are focused in on mixing. Now, I'm going to see several similar elements. My color coding is here, of course, and but I can also insert plugins and deal with routing, and we'll learn how to do all that, of course. All those things here. So when I'm in my mix view, my focus is more so mixing. All right, so these are some of the different things in your DAW environment that you need to familiarize yourself with to get you started, right? What does my main window look like versus my mix window, and how do I switch between them? Where is my transport section, and what are some of the things that are in there? How do I get into and change different settings in the transport area? Where are my what rulers are available to me? Where are they? How do I turn those on and off? Those are some of the main environmental things that you need to know to get you going in your DAW. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful to you, and I've given you some tools to help you be dangerous with getting started in your DAW. Your homework, yes, you get homework, is to poke around inside of the DAW and just click on stuff. That's your homework until the next video, right? Click on stuff, hover over things. Most DAWs will give you a tooltip if you hover over something and tell you what it is. It'll give you keyboard shortcuts and things like that, all right? Leave comments in the comment section if there are any questions or anything like that that you want to ask. Let me know. In our next video, we're going to take the next step and start learning how to create tracks inside of our DAW. What are some of the different types of tracks we can create? Why and how do we create them, and when would we want to use them? All right, so that's coming up next. I will see you guys then.